दोस्तों, अगर आप बाज़ार में अपना पैसा इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं तो अभी जुड़े एंजल ब्रोकिंग के साथ में, क्योंकि यहाँ आपको मिलती है एक अच्छी एडवाइस और भरोसेमंद सर्विस, और यहाँ अकाउंट ओपन करना भी है बिल्कुल फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट। तो आज ही जुड़े एंजल ब्रोकिंग के साथ में। अकाउंट ओपनिंग लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में है। आज ही अपना अकाउंट ओपन कराएं।
January tax collections come in, this will become very apparent. Because I think in January itself we will meet the budget estimates, revised budget estimates. That's an important point I want to make. Second thing, I think, I'm not looking at the point of view of 1 year expense. I think we are missing the trees for the woods. What is this reflecting is a permanent growth in the tax to GDP ratio. And the improvement that the government is trying to make in the tax laws and the administration in the last 7 years is now coming to fruit. And this increase in tax to GDP is going to help us in years to come. Second thing I feel, third thing, that we are projecting 8.5% nominal GDP growth. It may be 8%, but as a country we are planning for 10%. We have the courage to say we'll grow 10%. And a lot of the reforms, especially the PLI, the ease of doing business, has come in to reflect the China factor. And we have a credit cycle which is past us and a capex cycle which is ahead of us. And the world wants to invest in India. So I remain extremely bullish again as usual. I think markets will do well, and more than that, the country will do well. We're going to have growth with good social welfare.
That's a very important point that you make, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, and we will try and get the budget team to explain to us why, in your words, they've been so ultra conservative as far as their tax assumptions are concerned, but we will try and get them to explain that to us. But on some of the themes that the budget has taken forward, and you talked about PLI, for instance, there seems to be a very concerted attempt at ensuring that the PLI schemes that were announced are executed and operationalized. And wherever needed, for instance, there was a further announcement today of 19,500 crore rupees as far as the solar module PLI is concerned, to push green and clean energy. So sustainable and equitable growth in the long term seems to be something that the government is working towards. On that aspect, from the short to medium term, what do you believe the government is going to be able to do to stimulate demand, consumption and recovery, while in the long term, as you've pointed out, it puts places the pieces up nicely?
There will be automatic stimulation of demand. And see, the government, in spite of elections, has not done any populist measures, has not made any increase in welfare expenditure which is uncalled for, right? So, that scores mark. Remember one thing, Shirin, what's most important in India is a fair and well-regulated tax regime and ease of doing business. Once that is there, India is going to just boom. And we have the credit cycle which is past us. And no country does a credit cycle, generally happen without a 8 to 10% year gap. And second thing is, we have a capex cycle ahead of us. You see what Mr. Kumar Mangalam Birla is saying, what all the industries are saying, what is Mr. Anil Agarwal saying, what is Reliance saying. The private sector is ready to invest and invest heavily. So, ma'am, I think we are very well placed. I'm lucky to be an investor at this time. And I'm bullish, ma'am.
Well, that's the second time you've said that. That's a very bullish Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, saying that he likes what he's heard today, and to the point that you were making about the government wanting to crowd in private investment. That was what the finance minister spoke of as well when they decided to up the allocation for capex by almost 35%. But Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, on the strategic disinvestment front, because what we have seen is that the government has cut its target for this year, and it's also kept a fairly conservative target, conservative in the context of what we've seen the government lay out in the previous years at 65,000 crores. Do you believe that that is also going to be something that they will better and better quite significantly?
I don't know about the strategic disinvestment, whether it'll get 65,000. But I know one thing, that the tax revenue collections are going to go through the roof. And the budget deficit this year is at least going to be 1.5% lower than what she has estimated, unless until the expenditure increases. Ma'am, it's very simple. You have collected 13,75,000 crores up to November, up to December. Net tax revenue to the center. I'm showing you the site I've extracted from the official site of the Ministry of Finance. Right, and they've taken 17,65,000 as a tax collection. I think it will be at least 3 to 4 lakhs extra.
Yes, that point you've made. But what does this now mean as far as where the markets are positioned, Rakesh, especially in the context of what is happening globally and in light of what the government has now laid out very clearly as the blueprint for growth?
Ma'am, I can tell you, I think in the last 6 months, or last 7 months, FIs have sold 1,37,000 crores. And market is less than 10% below its all-time high. What else can I tell you? And you know, people say, no, they opened 8 crore DEMAT accounts. What about the balance 80 crores? I always like to see a glass full. And I think there is, see, India, I mean, I'm again on the reputation, India on the verge of big change.
Rakesh, good afternoon. So, big change, you would say that in that case,
Sir, I am not going to, Mr. Singhal, I am not going to invest. I am not going to advise you where to invest. I am not your investment advisor. You invest where you think, but I think public sector banks are going to do really well. And the valuations even today are ridiculous. And I'm an interested party. I'm buying a lot of public sector banks.
Hi, good afternoon. From a sectoral standpoint, there was a lot of thrust in this budget, whether it was infrastructure, whether it was a big surge in capex, a lot of focus on renewable energy, electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles, etc. Anything that stands out for you from a long-term investor standpoint?
No, you are excited by the fact that government is going to increase capital expenditure. I feel the increase of capital expenditure by the private sector is going to exceed the government's expenditure. तो बोलते हैं ना सोने पे सुहागा है. Mr. Kumar Mangalam Birla is saying, Mr. Anil Agarwal is saying, Mr. Mukesh Ambani is saying, Mr. Adani is saying, all industry are saying they got to invest big time. And madam, you are underestimating, I think, revenue receipt, tax revenue estimate for the current year at least 3.5–4 lakh crores more would be more than what they have estimated.
Yeah, that is something that you have expressed, and many have suggested that perhaps we could see a beat on that front. But let me address the issue of what the theme seems to be, and I think that is something that you spoke about as well. I think Amitabh Kant put it very well in his conversation with me. He said that this is an attempt to move away from sunset sectors to sunrise sectors. Would you agree with that?
Ma'am, what you buy is very important, and what valuation you buy is more important. So I don't see sunset and I don't see sunrise. I'm not going to buy any sunrise at any price. And not that I will not buy sunset at a price. And I don't know what you mean by sunrise and sunset. Are banks going to go out of fashion? Are metals going to go out of fashion? Can you create metals on the internet? So I don't look at sunrise and sunset, because the sunrise are all ridiculously valued. And don't forget that ultimately, price is a slave of earnings. That is, if there is one truth in the stock market worldwide, stock prices ultimately are slave of earnings and cash flow.
So you believe that what we are seeing as far as the startup valuations are concerned are not bordering but are already irrationally exuberant?
Well, I can reserve my comments. Just like crypto, I stood out. I don't want to go to every party in town. I don't want to go to the startup party. See, the hangover is only after 2 days.
You don't want to go